Today we're going to be going head to head with freelancing versus full-time to find out which one is the winner. And more importantly, which path should you choose? Now this is part of a freelancer series to help you become a successful video freelancer. And in this video, we're going to be discussing 3 key themes. Why would you consider freelancing? What are the pros and cons of freelancing versus full-time? And lastly, which best fits you? Just before we dive in, if you've ever wondered if freelancing is still a viable option in a post-pandemic world, then just take a look at these current stats. In the US alone, the freelance industry makes up almost 5% of the total US GDP. A staggering 53% of all Generation Z workers are freelancers. And 84% of freelancers say the work lets them live the lifestyle they want. So let's get straight into our comparison, starting with round 1, stability versus flexibility. A full-time role naturally comes with the stability of a contract of employment, a set schedule, set amount of holidays, and a steady income. With a full-time role, you also tend to get PTO, which is paid time off for sick days, parental leave, and holidays, as well as some potential company benefits like health insurance. With this in mind, it has also been known that contracts can be terminated and you could be made redundant with no fault of your own. The set schedule in some companies may be working past your set hours, meaning unpaid overtime. How about if you want or need to take days off than the company allows for? This is rarely possible unless you take unpaid leave. Whereas freelancing allows you to work on projects with various lengths of time on a flexible schedule that you dictate, to have as much time off as you wish, as well as a higher income potential that is heavily influenced by you. With this comes the potential of a fluctuation of your schedule, meaning more time off than you'd like, and therefore an inconsistent income. Next up, round 2, security versus instability. It's a given that people tend to associate security with a full-time job. However, as we witnessed in the pandemic, in the US alone, we witnessed a staggering 31% of the workforce being laid off, and an estimated 14.6 million affected individuals, with as many as 6.9 million that didn't have employer-sponsored insurance, what we know in the UK as furlough pay, meaning they had no financial support to fall back on. Although on one hand, with a full-time job, you receive a steady paycheck each month, knowing that you'll have a routine at the office with work coming in, so it's secure in that sense. Whereas when it comes to freelancing, it's usually seen as the high-risk, high-reward path. You offset the flexibility with working fewer days in the week, as you naturally earn a lot more daily. You determine the hours and the amount that you work. Here's an example. The average salary for a video editor, according to Glassdoor, is £32,887 a year, which is a total of £126.49 a day. Whereas the average freelancer day rate for a video editor, according to Bectu, is a whopping £91,000 a year, which is £350 a day. That's almost 3 times the salary. Of course, this massively depends on your ability to bring in the work on that basis that you're working 5 days a week. Regardless, you could see this as working 3 times less as you would do normally, being in a full-time role, and you're earning the same amount but working on projects that you pick and choose. Round 3, control versus freedom. Full-time employees have to comply with the rules of the company and its culture, whilst having a boss to answer to. With these seemingly obvious cons, control is potentially a pro for anyone who likes following instructions, structure, and order. As a freelancer, you're the boss. That works with your clients, usually on a more collaborative relationship. You can turn down any project or role that you don't like the sound of, and tend to have far more creative input on the projects. This freedom of choice comes at a price, but you need to be the mover and shaker to make things happen, which leads me on to my next point, motivation. Motivation tends to be more extrinsic for full-timers, meaning motivation is usually external and needs to be dictated from a performance review each quarter from your boss, telling you how well you're doing. Whereas freelancers tend to be more intrinsically motivated as they gauge how well they're doing and are far more responsible for their failures and success. Social life is completely subjective on both sides, as on one hand with full-time work you can have a cool team and colleagues to hang out with and have a sense of community in the workplace, as you tend to spend far more hours in the week in an office with your colleagues then they tend to be your family away from home. If you're freelancing on site, you get to meet plenty more people, although it's potentially more difficult to form those stronger bonds if you don't see them as often and change companies quite frequently. If you're working remotely, you may feel a little isolated and miss that social connection, but usually this is offset with co-working spaces and working at various companies meeting new and interesting people. Better yet, remote working also means that you can spend more time with your family, and having a flexible schedule allows you to take plenty more days off to finish early and hang out with your friends. Complacency is another big theme when you work for a company full-time. It comes back to that concept of your goals being dictated by a manager. Whereas if you're a freelancer, you're able to set your own milestones and your rate of growth depending on how many and what types of projects and skills you want to take on. Similar to motivation, this is dictated by how slow or how fast you want to progress and develop your skills. This all feeds into your next opportunity. On one hand, working several years for one company can show loyalty, and on the other, it shows a lack of diversity and growth, as your CV potentially shows you in a light that hasn't got as much experience in many other environments or sectors. In my experience, I found that working at the same company, sometimes for months on end in a permalance role, I found it fantastic to work with a group of people on that same project going deep. Although I also found I learned far more when I was pivoting between genres, roles, and working with different talented teams. This kept me on my toes and allowed me to challenge myself far more, and at the end of the month I'd have around 4 to 8 different projects to put into my showreel. This not only enhances your experience, it also makes you far more hireable, as you're able to constantly showcase your latest and greatest work, fresh skills, and new clients that are now on your roster, meaning you're more likely to get repeat business and new opportunities. There you have it, that's a big picture comparison between the two. It now begs the question, which path is for you? For me at least, I feel like it completely comes down to your personality and values. I wouldn't ever say full-time is for everyone, and neither is freelancing. If you're someone who values security, stability, a fixed schedule, order, and a steady salary, then a full-time career would appeal to you. If you're someone who resonates more with being independent, someone who prefers freedom and flexibility and overall variety, then freelancing will speak to you. If you want to have a life that has the potential of personal, creative, and financial freedom, then this is far more achievable to obtain if you're the owner of the company. Hopefully this has cleared up a few things for you and ultimately helps you make more of an informed decision on which path to go down. The biggest reason people don't go freelance is because of the amount of risk and uncertainty involved. The way to overcome this is to reduce the risk. What's the best way to reduce risk, you ask? Well, it's to shortcut this by having a step-by-step formula or a mentor that has been through all of these struggles so that you don't have to spend hundreds of hours and pounds figuring out how to get to where you want to be. This is the core of why I created our online course, Freelance Mastery, to help other freelancers create the life that they want. And I can definitely say that it's possible to have a consistent high income whilst working with the clients and projects that you genuinely care about. I don't believe you have to sacrifice passion for career. There's definitely a balance that allows you to get paid for doing what you love. So having said that, what's next? If you're leaning towards freelancing and not sure where to start, we have you covered. Check out the rest of the episodes in this Freelancer series. To dive deeper, our course Freelance Mastery takes you from not having any clients to working with world-renowned brands. We have several modules that cover everything from pricing your services, briefing clients, automating your business, discovering clients, and so much more. We also have a number of tools for you to automate freelance tasks like quoting projects, briefing clients, tracking your favorite clients, managing your finances, and a ton more to come. This course has helped a number of freelancers to work with their dream client, and this could be you too. If you're curious, check out our free taster course in the description below to help you discover your very next client. And if you want to know my top reasons why you should be a freelancer this year, check out the next episode in this series. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.